To spend the next hour or so finding the news as it happens here locally, around the country, and who knows, maybe around the world as well. We're here with you every Monday through Friday, 12:30 to 2:30, so kicking things off with another week of the Wisconsin Live Desk here for you on Fox Local. Let me get this camera a little more centered up. Sorry, some things were left a little bit uneven there. There you go. All right, so 12:30, a few different things that we're keeping an eye on for you as we give you a shot at downtown Milwaukee. Looking quite nice despite some of the wildfire smoke that we've had, producing some haze in our city. Wildfire smoke from Canada really impacted by yesterday afternoon. It kind of looked like it was cloudy outside, but as you can see today, that is clearing. Nice to see the blue skies and the clouds, even if the smoke is still there for a little bit longer before it fully clears from our area today. And while we're focused on Milwaukee, of course, we also want to give you a live look at what will be the place to be in just a few short hours. This is Truist Park down in Atlanta, Georgia, the host venue for this year's Major League Baseball All-Star Game. And as you can see, some folks getting the field ready there. Got to get the outfield grass mowed just right. But the All-Star Game, ASG there across with the star, coming to Atlanta this year. And that features 3 different Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to more of this later throughout the program, but since it's still up, pop this up real quick. A shot from the Brewers media representative there, Mike Vassallo, of the 3 jerseys hanging in the clubhouse at Truist Field, preparing for the arrival and all the festivities of those 3 Brewers All-Stars. Freddie Peralta on the left, who pitched yesterday, won't pitch in the game tomorrow night. Jacob Misiorowski, much made about the Phenoms' selection to the All-Star Game with just 5 career starts under his belt. And on the right there, Trevor McGill, who was the replacement for Peralta when it became known that Peralta would not be able to pitch in the game itself. So that is waiting for the players there again at Truist Park in Atlanta, the site of the game tomorrow. And if you're watching us locally here in the Milwaukee area, southeastern Wisconsin, if you get Fox 6 or anywhere, your Fox affiliate will be the home for the All-Star Game tomorrow night from Atlanta. So we'll get some more on that and all the festivities and fun to come with the Home Run Derby and the game itself tomorrow. But we also want to tell you some of the news that's happening around the country today, and that includes from the White House here as we take you live to one of the speakers at what is a faith luncheon that was hosted by President Donald Trump. And that feed just went down right as we went to it. Well, that's the joy of the live desk, right? Right as you try to throw to something, that feed goes down. The president actually just spoke moments ago at that faith luncheon. Let me get you some of the updates here, hosted by the White House Faith Office. And again, this was a luncheon expressing, the president expressed his support for religion in public life, and certainly we've seen an expansion of that, the breakdown of the separation of church and state under his administration, certainly the second time around. A nation that prays is a nation that prospers, he says. And this is continuing here. The president made an appearance but didn't look like he was going to stick around for the entirety of the luncheon after making some remarks. Part of the services that just wrapped up there at the White House. Of course, some of the comments turned political and turned to the economy as well as some of the speech that he gave there at that faith luncheon targeted Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, calling him, quote, a knucklehead, stupid guy, end quote, who's costing the country hundreds of billions of dollars. And Trump continued by touting the U.S. tariffs that have come in so far, billions of dollars, saying, quote, I've always made money, now I'm making it for you people. So some comments about the state of faith in America and the state of the U.S. economy and the global economy at that, coming from the president in his address to those folks gathered at the White House for a faith luncheon hosted by the White House Faith Office today. We'll get you some more on what else the president has brought to the table when it comes to some of the possible sanctions against Russia as well. That is some other news of the day today, with the president saying today that he would in fact punish Russia with tariffs if there is not a deal to end the war in Ukraine within 50 days. So this is an example of the growing rift between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. There's often been a frankly friendly relationship between those two leaders from countries that are usually quite opposed to each other, but that seems to be falling apart. As the president said, there's a chance that America would once again punish Russia with tariffs if there is not a deal to end the war in Ukraine within 50 days. That came at the same time, very busy day for the president already. He hosted, let me pop this up for you here once again, an outside shot of the White House, a live look at the White House today. The president met with the, Secretary General of NATO, discussing some of the different possible approaches from NATO and the U.S. towards Russia, with Trump saying, quote, "We're going to be doing some very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days, and going on to say that they would be secondary tariffs, meaning in that case it would target Russia's trading partners in an effort to isolate Moscow when it comes to its role in the global economy. European allies also plan to buy military equipment from the U.S. and then transfer it to Ukraine. That was part of the meeting with the NATO Secretary General, this transition of arms to Ukraine, with the U.S. benefiting from those sales of those arms to NATO allies. The Secretary General saying, quote, "Speed is of the essence here, and that the agreement should make President Putin of Russia reconsider peace negotiations." So both U.S. President Donald Trump, the Secretary General of NATO, both trying to put the pressure on Russia to come back to the bargaining table and try to work towards a possible peace in Ukraine. I believe now well over 3 years since that first invasion of Russian troops into Ukraine and the war that has followed over the previous years. Speaking of military and speaking of efforts around the world as well, a big day today for members of the president's administration. This is another live camera for you, where we're expecting to possibly hear from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who's hosting his own prominent official today. That would be the German Minister of Defense, being hosted for a series of honors and bilateral meetings between the U.S. and Germany today. Germany, of course, the biggest economy in Europe, and trying to enhance some of its defense spending in support for Ukraine. So a meeting today with the Defense Secretary of the U.S., Pete Hegseth, something else that we are waiting for. We've seen a series of people walking back and forth, but not Hegseth himself yet. So just a couple of things that we're tracking for you here on this Monday afternoon in Milwaukee, as we give you that great shot of the downtown skyline for you as well. A few other things we are tracking throughout the day today, and we'll hopefully find some more for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, here with you until 2:30 today. I'm going to take a short break, and then we can get into some more of the fun with the All-Star game down there in Atlanta. That's, for the Brewers fans, an amazing sight to see. 3 different players represented at this year's Midsummer Classic. It is a testament to how well they have been playing, riding that 7-game win streak into the All-Star break, and some of the other impressive numbers for the crew. We'll have that for you coming up shortly on the Wisconsin Live Desk after this short break. Thanks for watching.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Defenbaugh hanging out with you here on this Monday afternoon, keeping a track on a number of different things for you here on this Monday. We just got some fun news from the Wisconsin State Fair, something you'll be able to see when the State Fair starts July 31st. Hard to believe, but let me do the quick math on that for you. Just 17 days away from the start of the Wisconsin State Fair, and a favorite on the fairgrounds each and every year. Got a major upgrade in the off season, so to speak, since the last fair last summer. So for many of us, this end of this month will be our first chance to see a revamped part of the Wisconsin State Fair, and we'll get some more information on that once we try to get some of the graphics, some of the images for you to show. But we'll take you back to Atlanta, Truist Park in Atlanta, preparing for the All-Star Game. Of course, the Home Run Derby coming tonight, the All-Star Game tomorrow night. It's going to be a whole lot of fun for the Brewers especially, who are just rolling into the All-Star break. The winners of 7 straight at 56 wins right now on the season. One of the best records in the National League as they go into the midsummer break. 56-40 for the Crew. That is their most wins before the break in franchise history. Quite impressive for a team that started the year with plenty of questions, especially when it came to the starting pitching. So many injuries ravaging the team right off the bat, and boy, have they been able to figure it out, kind of right the ship and get things rolling here, especially as they headed into the break. Winners of 7 straight so far, and then also just 1 game behind the Cubs in the standings at the break. Third best record in the National League behind the Los Angeles Dodgers and those rivals from down south on I-94, and 3 representatives for the Crew in the All-Star break as they will get to head on down to Atlanta. This was the picture the Brewers posted after wrapping up the first half of the season. This trio gets to board a fancy private jet and fly on down to Atlanta after wrapping up a nice homestand with their 7th straight win. On the left, you get Jacob Mizorowski, the young phenom. In the middle, Freddie Peralta, the now 2-time All-Star, who pitched so exceptionally yesterday as well to help the Brewers steamroll toward that win and that sweep of the Nationals. And Trevor McGill, who's holding things down at the back end of the bullpen for the Crew. Kind of the beginning and the end of the strong pitching for the Brewers will be represented at the Midsummer Classic. A lot made of the selection of Mizorowski on the left, who we know so highly anticipated for the Crew. He has been fantastic as well since he got to the show. Really just one poor performance. Everything else has been phenomenal for Mizorowski. But with just 5 career starts so far, he smashed the record for the fewest starts and appearances for an All-Star, making his first appearance in his rookie season there. So quite a bit of chatter about that, but ultimately the fans want to see some of the bright stars in the game, and he's certainly an exceptional one that has drawn such big crowds to American Family Field, topping 100 miles per hour so frequently with his fastball. And the Brewers trying to capitalize on some of the attention to Miz as well. They announced today, this is new, announced this morning that an addition to the season's giveaway lineup. So coming Sunday, August 10th, the first 25,000 ticketed fans will get an exclusive Jacob Mizorowski t-shirt. The Miz design actually is not even revealed yet. So yes, they are doing this in the moment, but wanted to get the date out there for so many of those fans. Sunday, August 10th. Those fans, the first 25,000 of them with tickets, will get a Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz t-shirt to try to capture what has been such a sensational start to his young career so far. He is a flamethrower, 6'7" righty, 4-1 so far with a 2.81 ERA through his first 5 starts, and that number would have been much lower without kind of one hiccup against the Mets. His most recent outing struck out 12 Los Angeles Dodgers over dominant 6 innings to continue this start. The electric fastball, the devastating slider. He is certainly looking like one of the top rookies in Major League Baseball this year, and we will get to see him in the All-Star game. By the way, the only thing that we know about that t-shirt so far, besides the date, but the actual design of it, it'll include the image of a tulip, which I was not aware, an official symbol of Parkinson's awareness, and that's a cause supported by Mizrowski. So I wonder if there's maybe a personal tie there, someone in his family that has gone through Parkinson's. But we know that the Miz t-shirt given away to some fans Sunday, August 10th at American Family Field, in addition to the giveaway lineup, will include a tulip, a symbol of Parkinson's awareness, and something that Mizrowski has tried to bring awareness to, even already in his quite brief but very successful major league career. Now, because of Freddie Peralta pitching yesterday, we knew this. That's the reason Trevor McGill was able to get added to the All-Star game as well here at Truist Park, another live look down there in Atlanta. So Peralta pitched yesterday, not available to pitch in the All-Star game itself. McGill, Wendell, instead, at that time, was going to be the Brewers' lone on-field representative. The closer, who's been so solid for them, taking over for Devin Williams this year, will be an All-Star and hopefully pitching on that very field, on that mound away in the distance there tomorrow. And then the addition of Mizrowski, so a chance to see two of the best pitchers on the Brewers staff, hopefully tomorrow night on Fox, if you're interested in checking it out right now. So some of the fun that we're looking forward to down there in Atlanta. Well, let's see what else I can pop up for you here on this Monday afternoon. I mentioned that meeting that is coming between Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and a German foreign minister, defense minister there. You can see the crowd has now moved to the stairs, anticipating the arrival of those two leaders. We're seeing a few uniformed members as well beginning to set up, but not quite the arrival of Secretary Hegseth at this moment. And then the other thing I want to pop up for you as well, this just started over from our sister station in Minneapolis. Activists, let me throw up this for you. Hold on. Activists stepping to the podium, calling out ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, and specifically the targeting of immigrants at court. And if this sounds familiar, certainly has been an issue here in Milwaukee County with a couple different ICE detainments and arrests at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. That, of course, led to the national coverage of the arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan from Milwaukee County Circuit Court. Part of the reasoning for that was that she was supposedly trying to hide or escort an illegal immigrant out of the court before ICE agents could detain that man. Well, this is a press conference coming to us, a briefing from folks in Minneapolis who are concerned about the same type of situation. Activists calling out ICE and some of the targeting of immigrants at the courthouses in Minneapolis and St. Paul. So let's listen in live from our sister station in Minneapolis to some of the comments.
We do not believe in the existence of ICE. We believe in the abolition of ICE, and that we believe in keeping families together. You know, the reason we're here today is because we do not want any more kidnappings happening in our community. We want ICE out of our city and in our country, and we want to make sure that families can stay together because we love our community members. One thing that we know that the city of Minneapolis can and will be doing, and I want to talk about it here today, is that we're going to be strengthening our separation ordinance. And we're going to do that by working with community members that are leading the work on the ground, because the folks on the grounds are the ones that are protecting our community. They're the ones that are getting the word out on how to uphold people's rights, because we know we have a government right now, the federal government, that does not care about due process and does not care about our community. So our community matters. We're going to keep being on the streets, and what we're going to tell ICE is that you need to stop separating our families. You need to uphold due process, and we're going to keep on pushing, because what you're doing is just completely wrong.
Our final speaker is Noah from the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice, an organization demanding an end to police brutality and ICE terror.
Good afternoon. For the media present, my name is Noah, N-O-A-H. My last name is S-C-H-U-M-A-C-H-E-R. Again, my name is Noah, and I'm an organizer with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice, also known as TCC4J. TCC4J proudly stands with the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee in demanding ICE stay out of all protected areas, including but not limited to churches, schools, hospitals, and the courts. Every person with a pulse should be outraged that masked and heavily armed agents in plain clothes are going into schools, churches, hospitals, and courts to arrest and deport human beings. People who are seeking asylum in this country deserve to have their hearings in front of a judge. They deserve to have their stories heard, no matter how long it takes for them to get in front of that judge. They deserve to get the opportunity to make their case for asylum here in Minnesota. Hennepin County officials and court administrators need to ensure that immigrant rights are protected and that due process is carried out. Although immigration courts are run by the DOJ, the point still stands that no one of good conscience should be assisting Trump's secret police. Immigration judges, along with county, city, and state leaders, need to do more to protect immigrant rights. We already saw how ICE, along with the federal task force, showed up on Lake Street last month in the heart of one of the state's most vibrant immigrant communities. The Hennepin County Sheriff collaborated with this federal task force on what they called a drug raid. Mass federal agents, including ICE, came into the Minneapolis immigrant community with their military vehicles and military-grade weapons and began assaulting community members, standing up for what they reasonably perceived as an ICE raid. And again, ICE agents were there in a sanctuary city. Contrary to the PR spin we heard from the mayor and other city leaders, the Minneapolis police, along with Chief O'Hara, showed up to protect these federal agents, and not the outraged community members who responded immediately to protect the immigrant community. The police should not be assisting ICE with crowd control. This is one of the many reasons why we at TCC4J are organizing for community control of the police through an all-elected Civilian Police Accountability Commission. Community control is about protecting all of us, including all immigrants. Immigration judges dismissing cases and allowing plain-clothed ICE agents to arrest people without a hearing is an egregious attack on all of us. Due process rights have never been a guarantee for Black, brown, and indigenous people in this country. We are not far removed from that history of judges upholding white supremacy and acquitting murderers after lynching Black people. My father was born in a Jim Crow hospital. He is old enough to remember when Emmett Till lynchers were acquitted. And we know how due process looked for George Floyd, Amir Locke, Sandra Bland, Justin Tigan, and so many more stolen Black lives in recent memory. Our ancestors had to shed their blood for every right that was gained for Black folks in this country, and if we do not fight back and stand shoulder to shoulder with our immigrant siblings, then it's only a matter of time before they start coming for other communities. I want to state again that we at TCC4J are organizing and petitioning for community control of the police in Minneapolis through an all-elected Civilian Police Accountability Commission. We understand that in order to have self-determination, we need to have political power over those who have the monopoly on violence in our communities. And we understand that our struggles are connected, and we need to have a united front against the repression coming down from the Trump administration. We are proud to stand unapologetically here today to demand immigrant rights and their right to due process be upheld. Stop the deportations.
Stop the deportations. And then any questions you can address to any of our speakers. So if there's any questions from the press.
I think it was the first speakers. Do you guys have a name reference?
Well, some of that continues in Minneapolis. You're hearing many of the same concerns that we've seen from immigrant groups here in Milwaukee and across the nation as well, protesting some of the use of immigration officials coming into different situations, so-called safe havens like courts or religious buildings or schools and the like, to conduct their arrests and detainments. Certainly has led to quite a bit of news here in Milwaukee and apparently in Minneapolis to our west as well. While that continues, we also want to give you a live look at something we're going to bring you hopefully when it starts here. This just popped up on our feed of cameras. It's great. We have this network of cameras and live aspects to bring you from around the country. This is a USDA dairy event, so I'm thinking might be of interest to folks here in America's Dairyland, of course. The Secretary of Agriculture, along with the Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the FDA Commissioner, are all hosting a media availability along with the International Dairy Foods Association, the IDFA. So we will see what this says. The only information we've gotten about this is that a major announcement is coming at this USDA dairy event. Very curious what that will be. Very curious what the response will be from dairy farmers here in the state of Wisconsin as well when that announcement is made. So that's one of the other things we're tracking for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Hope to bring that to you over the next hour and a half as we continue to roll along here on the Live Desk. For now, we're going to take a short break and see what we find on the other side. Thanks a lot for watching here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 Milwaukee YouTube channel.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, Carl Defenbaugh back with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Wanted to give you another shot of our beautiful city here in Milwaukee from the Esterbrook Park Tower camera. Also kind of tells you what you're in for weather-wise today, as you can make out those puffy cumulus clouds. Got an education from Stephanie Barkello earlier in the day about those. And some of the blue skies, but still you notice kind of the haze, and that's not just the sunshine out there today. That is the result of wildfire smoke still in our area that came all the way from Canada. It was definitely worse yesterday, certainly yesterday afternoon, and is in the process of clearing, but we're still not completely clear yet. So that's kind of what you'll deal with out there today. You may notice it, especially those who have already some particular breathing issues or respiratory issues may notice it more than most. But the wildfire smoke moving through the area today and hopefully clearing in the next day or two as well. Now, some of the other things that we are tracking for you here, I wanted to bring you back to that meeting between Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and his German counterpart, the German defense minister, who are meeting today in, I believe this is Washington, D.C. I'm not positive about the exact location for you. Apologies on that. But some of the arrivals that we've begun to see, oh yeah, I should just look at the screen, Carl. There it says Department of Defense. So yes, in the nation's capital here, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, hosting his German counterpart here. Much of the discussion is around the sale of U.S. missiles to Germany, but to be used in Ukraine. And this is some details that we got from a meeting earlier today between the President Donald Trump, and the Secretary General of NATO, the alliance that, of course, the U.S. is a part of, though has been a thorn in President Trump's side going back to his first term in office back to 2016 to 2020. So today, the Secretary General of the NATO alliance, along with the President, said Germany will be supplying Ukraine with a massive amount of weapons, and that those would include Patriot missile defense systems. All of that, though, part of a broader initiative by the U.S. and the NATO alliance to shore up the Ukrainian defenses. Now, the defense minister and Pete Hegseth were supposed to discuss the transfer of these Patriot missiles during part of this meeting today. That could potentially occur within days. We know those have been vital to the defense of Kyiv and other major population centers in Ukraine during its ongoing war with Russia. Russia sending a series of both missiles and drone attacks at population centers, many of them civilian population centers. Many of those get shot down with missiles, but Ukraine has to keep restocking those missile systems if it hopes to continue to protect its civilians there in country. So part of this, an agreement between the U.S. and Germany that speaks to a larger agreement that the U.S. is working out with NATO, where members, according to the President, would buy billions and billions of dollars in U.S. weaponry, not only to fortify their defenses, but to pass along to Ukraine as well. And part of that, specifically with Germany today, includes large purchases of weapons for Germany, Patriot missile defenses systems, chief among them, that would then go to Ukraine to help bolster the defense of Ukraine, continuing its war with Russia after Russia invaded a series of years ago, and the Ukrainian forces have proven resilient at keeping Russian forces certainly out of the capital city of Kyiv, but even fortifying some of those front lines in the eastern part of the country. So Pete Hegseth and his German counterpart, the German defense minister, supposed to meet today discussing, in addition to a number of topics, the transfer of Patriot missile systems to Ukraine from the U.S. through Germany to Ukraine to fortify their defenses there. So something we are tracking and something we hope to bring you if they have some kind of press availability for us later today. Now, something else that just popped up on our feeds here, this is the beauty of the live desk. As things happen, we can try to take you there to them. An update that we're expecting from the police department in Lexington, Kentucky. An update on the investigation into two different shootings, connected shootings, that happened yesterday. A state trooper was shot by a man who then hijacked a car, drove miles away to a church where he killed two members of that church, injured two others, and that person, the suspected shooter, was shot and killed by police responding to that incident. But a state trooper was injured, two other people injured, and even more severe, two other people at that church killed in this shooting and this series of incidents yesterday in Kentucky. And the Lexington Police Department, as you're seeing, has that podium set up. They are supposed to give an update on those shootings. What is not known at this time is any possible motive from that suspected shooter. What started it for that person to fire, and then why the church became the target of others. Let's take you back to Washington, D.C. There you have it. We knew this moment was coming, and there it is. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth meeting with his German counterpart. A handshake outside of the Defense Department. And then let's listen in to see a photo op and see if there are any words as well.
luck, guys.
And there you have it, the German national anthem, followed by, of course, the Star-Spangled Banner, the U.S. national anthem as well, performed there outside of the Defense Department. Looks like that feed is now frozen as those two leaders, the counterparts from the U.S. and Germany, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and the German Minister of Defense, are now headed inside for talks today, including discussions of weapons transfers from the U.S. to Germany to bolster the defense of the Ukrainian people in Ukraine. With that, we go back and forth. This is the beauty of the live desk, ping-ponging back and forth. I mentioned a presentation from the Lexington Police Department following a deadly shooting in Lexington, Kentucky. Officers have just stepped to the podium there. Looks like they're getting things situated before beginning, and we want to listen live after a state trooper was injured and two other civilians shot and killed.
Public Information Office. Thank you for coming today. We want to provide some limited updates on the events occurring at Terminal Drive and Old Richmond Road yesterday, Sunday, July 13th, 2025. Chief Lawrence Weathers will provide an update on the investigation. This information will be limited as the Kentucky State Police will be taking over as the lead investigating agency of the entire incident. The Lexington Police Department will not be able to answer any questions. And going forward, all updates will be provided by and all inquiries should be directed to the Kentucky State Police. Chief Weathers is joined today by Kenneth Payne with 1 Lexington and also with Sergeant Matt Suddeth with the Kentucky State Police. Chief Weathers.
Thank you, Sergeant Towery. Good afternoon, everybody. As Sergeant Towery said, we want to provide a limited update about the shootings that occurred yesterday on Terminal Drive and Old Richmond Road. The suspect has been identified by the Fayette County Coroner's Office as Guy House, age 47. The two deceased female victims from Richmond Road Baptist Church have been identified as Beverly Gum, age 72, and Christina Combs, age 34. On behalf of the Lexington Police Department, I would like to extend my condolences to the families of Ms. Gum and Ms. Combs, as well as the other victims and their families. I would also like to provide you with an update on the two other injured victims from the Richmond Road Baptist Church. Both of the male victims are reported to be in critical condition. Out of respect for the victims and their families, we will not be releasing their identities. As Sergeant Towery mentioned, the Kentucky State Police will be taking over as the primary investigating agency, and any follow-up information will be released by Kentucky State Police. The officers who responded to the church encountered a very tragic scene. They began providing first aid and care to the individuals who had been shot until paramedics arrived. I'm proud of the responding officers. I'm proud of them and their actions to care for the victims. The officers went from securing the scene to assisting the victims in an instant. Yesterday's violence was a tragedy, and it impacted many people in our community. From the loss of Ms. Gum and Ms. Combs, the other victims who sustained injuries, including a Kentucky State Trooper, their families, the Richmond Baptist Church family, and many others, we join them and the community to mourn this tragedy. Just as our community experienced this devastating event, we saw our community come together and neighbors helping neighbors. From the community member who called to report a Kentucky State Trooper being shot, the work of our officers, and employees and all of those who have stepped up to offer support, we want to thank you. Your efforts to show that even in dark times, there's always light. In incidents like this, we want to make sure we continue to remember the victims, their families, and all who were impacted by this tragedy. I would like to thank all the government leaders, law enforcement and community partners, our community members, and even people outside of Kentucky who assisted with this investigation or offered support to us and the victims. I would also like to thank Mayor Linda Gorton and her office for their continued support of the Lexington Police Department and our officers. With several of our officers being involved in the shooting of the suspect, the investigation is still ongoing and is being investigated by the Kentucky State Police Critical Incident Response Team. After that investigation, our Public Integrity Unit will conduct an internal review of the incident, and as per policy, the officers will be placed on administrative assignment. Due to the ongoing nature and with the Kentucky State Police as the investigating agency, we will not be able to answer any questions. Any future updates to the investigation will come from the Kentucky State Police. I want everybody to know, especially in Lexington and our surrounding community, you have a great police department. I'm very proud and very honored to be part of this agency. And I just want to say to my officers and the other employees, thank you.
Mr. Kenneth Payne with One Lexington is going to speak concerning community resources.
Good afternoon. I'm Kenneth Payne with One Lexington, and I'm here on the behalf of my director, Divine Karama, and also my coworker, Larry Johnson. And I'm just here to refocus the narrative back on the community and resources that this community will need today and the days leading ahead. Oftentimes with tragedies like this, national narratives can misrepresent the heart of those who lived in the community that have been affected by this tragedy. So I just want to let everyone know that we as a community, we as a city, our hearts is grieving for the victims that have experienced such a tragedy. And we will do what we call all hearts on deck. As a community, what can we do to step up for these victims and be there in the time and the needs that they may have? So as One Lexington, we have already been working diligently to reach out to some of these victims to see how that we can support them with resources. We have several different community partners that are stepping up to help us in these efforts. So we just want to let you all know it is our endeavor to be there for these victims and offer them the resources that they may need. And if you are a victim and you're watching this, you hear this, please reach out to One Lexington, and we will see how we can get you those services and those resources that you will need. So as I close, I want to challenge everyone in this city, despite what the national narrative may be, let's come together as a community, how we know how to be a tight-knit bond community and city and be there for those that need us. Thank you.
As Chief Weathers referenced earlier, the Kentucky State Police will be assuming the investigation going forward. So at this time, I would like Kentucky State Police Sergeant Matt Suddeth to come forward.
Yes, I'm Sergeant Matt Suddeth, Commander for the Kentucky State Police Public Affairs Branch. I'm going to release a little bit of information that we have at this time based on our initial investigation into this incident. Please understand that this is pretty much everything that we have at this time that we're going to be able to release. There's not likely going to be any updates or any questions I can answer, most likely, but I'll provide what we do have at this time. Yesterday, Sunday, July 13th, around 12. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There we go. Kentucky State Police Critical Incident Response Team has been requested by KSP Post 12 in Frankfort and the Lexington Police Department to investigate multiple shootings that occurred on Sunday, June 13th here in Fayette County. The first incident occurred just after 11:30 in the morning on Terminal Drive near the Bluegrass Airport, and it involved a Kentucky State Police trooper. The second incident occurred around 12:30 p.m. at the Richmond Road Baptist Church, located at 5899 Old Richmond Road. And that incident involved several Lexington Police Department officers. The Critical Incident Response Team detectives arrived at both scenes and opened an investigation. The preliminary investigation indicates a KSP trooper conducted a traffic stop on Terminal Drive. While interacting with the occupants, one of the individuals presented a firearm and shot our trooper, which resulted in very serious injuries. The subject, later identified as Mr. Guy House, a 47-year-old male from Lexington, was known to have active arrest warrants. The other occupants of that vehicle were not involved in the assault of our trooper, did not flee the scene, and are cooperating with the investigation. After shooting the trooper, Mr. House fled the scene and later forcibly stole a vehicle from an individual. Lexington Police Department obtained information indicating the vehicle Mr. House had reportedly stolen was near Old Richmond Road here in Fayette County. Around 12:30 in the afternoon, Lexington Police Department officers located that stolen vehicle at the Richmond Road Baptist Church. Officers approached the church where they encountered Mr. House in a rear parking lot area, as well as multiple victims with apparent gunshot wounds. Initial information indicates that Mr. House shot 4 victims at the church before encountering those law enforcement officers. At least 3 Lexington Police Department officers discharged their agency-issued firearms, striking Mr. House and resulting in fatal injuries. Once the scene was secure, officers began to address the injuries of the victims and Mr. House and attempted to provide life-saving measures. 2 of those 4 victims were pronounced deceased at the scene by the Fayette County coroner and have been identified as Christina Combs, a 34-year-old female from Lexington, and Beverly Gum, a 72-year-old female from Lexington. The other 2 victims received life-threatening injuries and are being treated at a local hospital. Mr. House was pronounced deceased at the scene by the Fayette County coroner. This investigation remains ongoing. To protect the integrity of an ongoing investigation, it is the Kentucky State Police's standard operating procedure not to release specific details until vital witnesses have been interviewed and pertinent facts have been gathered. Timelines to complete these investigations vary based on the complexity of the case. In regard to our trooper, he is in stable condition at a local hospital. He suffered serious injuries, and without the assistance of several Good Samaritans, this likely could have been a very life-threatening injury. We're in the process of identifying those Good Samaritans who assisted our trooper. While we cannot identify them right now, we certainly want to express our most sincere appreciation for their actions. We cannot say thank you enough for the support of the community, folks across the state, folks across the nation, for their support during this absolutely terrible incident that we experienced here in Lexington. As Chief Weathers stated, Lexington has an absolutely tremendous law enforcement agency in the Lexington Police Department, and the Kentucky State Police is proud to get to work alongside of them, and they were tremendously helpful throughout this investigation yesterday. I'd be remiss to not say that, Kentucky State Police, we understand that this incident at the church, I cannot imagine what those folks are going through, and we certainly grieve with the family of the victims. We grieve with the church family, this small knit community We understand that they all probably were very close to one another, and you can't put into words how terrible the situation was for them. And we at the Kentucky State Police, we want to let you know that we grieve with you. I believe that's all I have at this time. I can try to take a few questions with knowing in mind that I'm going to be limited to pretty much what I've already said here. Yes, ma'am.
So did troopers have eyes on House from the Terminal Drive stop to the carjacking to the Old Richmond Road Church?
I don't have that specific information. That will probably be something that comes out through the investigation. As you can imagine, we have two scenes going all the way across Lexington, and in the middle of which, he stole a vehicle. So there's going to be some time for us to figure out all those details.
Why was the license plate triggered? Was the vehicle he was in stolen the first one on Terminal Drive, or what triggered that license plate?
I don't have specific information. Again, that's kind of there's a lot of information. Obviously, our trooper's in the hospital, so we're going to give him time to deal with his injuries before we go into that part of the investigation. But we'll get that information as soon as we can release it. Yes, sir.
Sergeant, you said House has open warrants. His family members said there's a history of mental illness there, drug problems. Should he have had a gun?
I'm not going to speculate as to why he had a gun. If he had, obviously he had a firearm because of what we know, but I can't speculate as to how he got that.
What kind of weapon was it?
Not prepared to release that information at this time.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. And again, going forward, Kentucky State Police will be leading the investigation, handling the entire investigation, and any information will be coming from them, and any inquiries should be going towards them.
There you have it, the latest updates from law enforcement in Kentucky there as the Kentucky State Police take over the investigation from Lexington Police following that deadly shooting at a church, Richmond Road Baptist Church in Lexington. And some of the information had been released already, the identification of the shooter in this, Guy House, who was pulled over, a traffic stop, and that's when he shot a state trooper who, as you heard, was likely saved by Good Samaritans there, still in the hospital, but in stable condition. Guy House then left, carjacked another vehicle, driving to the Richmond Road Baptist Church, where he shot and killed Beverly Gum, age 72, and Christina Combs, age 34. I believe they are mother and daughter, although I didn't hear that specifically in that update from authorities there. Two other men shot at the church in that second incident are still in critical condition. That was the update from the Lexington police chief there, Lawrence Weathers, and then the follow-up from the Kentucky police trooper there as well. The other thing is that Guy House, the suspected shooter who was shot and killed by police subsequently, did have known arrest warrants. Interesting that there were other occupants in that vehicle when he was initially pulled over, although you heard from the state police rep there, those people were not involved in the shooting itself of the state trooper or any of the follow-up violence, and they have been cooperating with the investigation so far. So still a lot of questions, still a lot to be worked out there, but we did get at least some updates after a horrible day for that community down in Lexington, Kentucky. All right, we have to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, rolling right along here at 1:24. We'll be back after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh hanging out with you here as we close up the first hour. Ben Handelman standing just outside that door right to my right, prepared to handle the second hour of the Live Desk for us here, taking over around 1:30. But I do want to get you out to that update from the USDA and other health officials, including the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This started moments ago. Health Secretary Kennedy just spoke while we were getting that update from Lexington Police, who didn't want to take you away from that for the Health Secretary, but an update to some of the terminology and some of the use from those different departments when it comes to health guidelines in America and what we are getting in terms of an update. So let's listen in live to this, and I believe this will also handle the carryover for Ben Handelman to take over for me here on the Live Desk. So thank you very much for watching. We roll right along here on Fox Local. Take a listen. We'll be back after this.
As a kid, having grown up milking cows, and as a dairy veterinarian, I've been there, I've seen it, I know your hard work, and I know your dedication. So thank you for all you do. This is a unique opportunity for IDFA. We represent the industry, the processing industry, and we're so happy with this voluntary industry-led commitment to ensure that our products are on the right side of public policy and on consumer choice. Back in 2022, we made a similar commitment that we would maximize the amount of sugar in flavored milk in schools, and I'm pleased to say that in the last decade, we've reduced sugar 60% in American schools in flavored milk, which is the #1 product for children. Earlier this year, we made a commitment that we would eliminate the certified artificial colors. The company stepped forward that they would eliminate the certified artificial colors in dairy products sold in schools, milk, cheese, and yogurt. Another commitment that our industry stepped forward with the member companies coming forward and making those commitments. And today, it's about celebrating ice cream and honoring the history of ice cream in America by making sure that we continue to offer the products that consumers know and love. This announcement today represents over 40 individual ice cream companies. It's the single largest effort of its kind, and it's efforts like this that demonstrate how our dairy industry is different. Our dairy industry was built on families. Many of these processing organizations started off on a single farm with a creamery, and years and years and generations later, they've grown into major companies. It is the dedication, it's the hard work, it's the commitment that our industry is committed to doing right and serving nutritious, healthy products to all. So on behalf of all of them, I am grateful to be here today. I'm grateful to our IDFA members, all of our ice cream companies, all of the dairy farmers, and to Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy for being such staunch champions of dairy. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dykes. Next, Andy Jacobs, the CEO of Turkey Hill Dairy and chairman of the International Dairy Food Association's Ice Cream Board. After Andy finishes, we'll hear from a dairy farmer herself, Sam Schweppe from Indiana, who milks, I think, 95 cows. What a joy, Sam. You are the reason we're able to do all of this, you and whom you represent. And then we'll take questions from the press, just a few, and then we'll be scooping some ice cream. So with that, Andy, please join me at the podium. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, Commissioner McCary, for the opportunity to speak today about this significant voluntary industry-led commitment to remove certified artificial colors from commercially produced ice cream products. I am Andy Jacobs, chair of the IDFA Ice Cream Board and chief executive officer of Turkey Hill Dairy, one of the nation's premier ice cream brands. Today's announcement represents a commitment by dozens of individual ice cream companies, from small independent companies to family-owned companies going back generations to large multinationals. We have all come together as the ice cream industry to lead major change and to make this commitment to remove artificial colors. And you may ask, why are we taking this action today? There are three good reasons. First, many of the commercial ice cream manufacturers have already phased out certified artificial colors, and many others are currently working with suppliers to phase them out as quickly as possible. Second, by taking this step now, ice cream manufacturers are ensuring that ice cream remains a special part of our lives as consumer preferences change and the nation's regulatory priorities evolve. As ice cream makers, we want to ensure families continue to enjoy their favorite wholesome ice cream treat. And third, this is about showing consumers and our communities that we are stepping up. We know that Americans eat roughly 19 pounds of ice cream a year. Think about that. We also know that ice cream is important to our dairy farmers, our ice cream making communities, and our food retail partners. U.S. ice cream contributes almost $12 billion to the U.S. economy and supports over 27,000 dairy industry jobs. We want to ensure that we continue these bonds with our consumers and, more importantly, to grow our impact on the economy. I will close by thanking the dozens of U.S. ice cream companies that have come together to lead this important industry initiative, and we will remove artificial colors from ice cream. Thank you very much.
Ben Handelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Well, wasn't expecting to start my week talking ice cream, but here we go with the health secretary getting this big commitment from a lot of the big ice cream manufacturers saying they're going to take out the artificial coloring from their ice cream brands. They say, again, this is voluntary, so the government is not, there's no law that says they have to do this, but this is something that the health secretary has been pushing. I think the biggest crime of this press conference, I heard no mentions of Wisconsin, and we are the dairy state. So if you're going to mention ice cream and not mention Wisconsin, I got an issue with that. But big announcement there coming from the USDA as they say they're going to take out their artificial coloring from your ice cream. Wonder if some of your favorite flavors will look a little different, but we'll have to look at that. So it's another exciting day here on the Live Desk as we go for another hour here, and we're going to be taking you through, I will tell you at 2 o'clock we're going to talk dinosaurs. So that's coming up in less than half an hour, so that's reason enough to stand by. We're also taking all the live feeds that are happening out there as we're looking live. The heat's back in on the way. Just got a new feed up from the White House out in Washington, D.C. But I do want to start this new hour locally talking about an issue out in Waukesha, and I'll bring in my colleague, make sure my boxes are correct here as Brett knows that this is a work in progress, me hitting all the right buttons here. Brett Lemoyne's on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Hey, Brett, thanks for joining us. I know you're out in Waukesha,
Hi, Ben.
And we're talking about a really notorious road there that's been pretty dangerous, and there's some new news coming out of there. So what's happening in Waukesha?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Ben. I'm standing in front of Sunset and Guthrie. You'll recall late last year in December, there was a fatal accident here that took the life of 17-year-old Megan Voss. An alleged drunk driver came through, speeding through this intersection and hit Megan's car. There has been, ever since, a push, and even before that accident, there's been a push to do something about this particular intersection. One thing that's notable, Ben, is these stop signs in the middle of the intersection. Residents tell us those are new. They said that they've been up for almost 6 weeks now. They were not here last December and January when we came to cover this terrible, terrible accident, crash that occurred here at Sunset and Guthrie. But long story short, the City Council tomorrow night is going to be talking about some ways to make this intersection a little bit safer. They did a traffic study and they found between 2020 and 2025, they're averaging about 2.5 crashes per year. There have been 13 crashes total in this intersection. We mentioned already the one fatality in that time. There were also 6 that involved at least 1 injury. Last year saw the most accidents here, 4 total. So if that data is any indication, yes, this is a quote-unquote problem intersection. So there's been a number of things that are being proposed that could help alleviate some of that. There are some short-term solutions that include adding some flashing LED stop signs, some stop-ahead advanced warnings written on the pavement, some overhead-mounted stop signs in the intersection. There's also some long-term solutions that include, most notably, adding a compact roundabout to this intersection. These are all things that are going to be considered at tomorrow night's City Council meeting. Now, Ben, what's interesting is we had heard in the last couple of months from a lot of neighbors reaching out to me, reaching out to Fox 6, saying we should do stories about this intersection and its perceived dangers. Today, we went door to door. We talked to two homeowners that live very close by. They had some interesting things to say. In particular, they are both against adding a roundabout here. They said the intersection is just not big enough to accommodate a roundabout, no matter how small the city thinks that they could get it. But overall, they are in agreement, though, that there is an issue with people not obeying these stop signs and speeding through.
Brett, I didn't grow up in Waukesha, but I know that road. That is a very busy road, which I would assume makes it more dangerous, as you've just got high levels of traffic. It's a pretty big straightaway right there, too, so you can get some speed if you're not paying attention.
Exactly, and it's only 30 miles an hour in most of the directions here, in particular on Sunset. Sunset, obviously a major thoroughfare through Waukesha. If you go just beyond the camera lens here, you'll be up to 164, and then beyond that, you're up in a pretty heavily commercial area with Meyer and Pick and Save,
right,
and also Waukesha South High School.
Everything costs money, especially when we're talking traffic. Even those little stop signs there, I'm sure, weren't cheap. Has the city, are we at such an introductory level here that has the city even talked about what changes could cost and who's going to pay for it?
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately the taxpayer is going to pay for it, Ben, but I have to confer with my notes here because I have that information. So the short-term improvements, you can, if they pick and choose, right, between some things that they like and some things that they don't, it's going to cost between $5,000 and $26,000. But if they did basically all of the short-term solutions that this traffic study found, it would cost about $53,000. Now, on the high end, for the long-term solutions, we're talking about that roundabout, and that could cost between $500,000 and $1 million. So it's a pretty wide range of possibilities to choose from to either get solutions right away for the short term or looking more at long-term solutions.
Yeah, I'm going back thinking of that fatality. I'm not sure what really could have stopped that. That guy was just so hammered, had been drinking all day, according to prosecutors. But maybe if there was some flashing lights, even when you're that intoxicated, it may be a better intersection than what it was there. I mean, are there any talks about lighting that area up too, or doing traffic signals instead of the stop sign?
Yeah, traffic signals are a possibility. As you pointed out, there are no lights, right, street lights that are over this particular intersection. So if our photographer Gabrielle can just pan up to the stop sign here, you can see there is a flashing light on top of the stop signs on Sunset. And the traffic study found, and I thought this was pretty interesting, most of the crashes were caused by drivers going on Sunset as opposed to Guthrie. That's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Right, yeah.
But what was really interesting, Ben, is that most of these accidents that happened here actually happened during the daytime hours. So when there was, ample light from the sun, and also when weather conditions were dry. So weather was not even a factor here. We're talking about mainly people that just either were not paying attention and drove through this intersection, not paying attention to the stop signs, or from some of the traffic reports that were indicated in the study, they just got confused as to who had the right of way.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff. I'm sure neighbors are happy to hear at least something is being talked about and done. As you said, 2 to 3 crashes per year you would hope they would then look at the intersection and do something. So Brett Lemoyne, always a friend of the program here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for coming on and kicking off our week with some traffic studies after we learned a little bit about ice cream.
Yes, thank you, Ben, for having me.
A sweet hit from you. Brett, thanks. Appreciate it. Brett Lemoyne out there in Waukesha. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Live Desk, and we'll keep following that story as it develops, through the days and weeks to come here. As, they got to do something out there on Sunset to try and make it safer, it sounds, and it sounds like the city's taking that seriously. So, your Monday's kicked off. What's going to happen next? Well, who knows, because it's the Wisconsin Live Desk. If it happens, we'll bring it to you, and I'm seeing some new feeds just popping up now, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
What up, news nerds? Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is the hour where whatever's happening live, we're going to bring it to you. This is happening right now. That is the health secretary eating ice cream live on your screen, and it looks like he needs a napkin. He's got some on the upper lip there. This is a USDA event as they have just announced that several companies and the big organizations that make most of the ice cream in this country, they're going to take out artificial coloring from ice cream. All naturals. This is a big push from Senator Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's behind the head. Right there. There he is. As he's chewing down on some ice cream out there. So they held a press conference. Now he's lighting it up. I always enjoy the sugar cone or the waffle cone. Waffle cone's number one. Let's bring Delaney, our producer, in. I'm not sure, Delaney, if you are a waffle cone or a sugar cone expert, but I think they're eating sugar cones.
It looks like sugar cones.
It does look like sugar cones. Man, I love it when you go to those ice cream shops, too, and they say, you get the waffle cone, and you're like, I only want one scoop, though. But the scoop they put in is the equivalent of, like, 4 scoops. So they're the officials. They're heading out of there after eating their ice cream. Just learned from that press conference that we eat more than 19 pounds of ice cream per person as humans. You never know what you're going to learn on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So that's happening now. I've got a new feed that just popped up. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, he is. Take it to the microphone. Let's hear what he's talking about on your Monday.
Always stand on the side of democracy, freedom, and truth, which is standing with Ukraine, as opposed to standing on the side of authoritarianism, tyranny, and propaganda, which is what he's been doing by standing with Russia and Vladimir Putin. Is he just now figuring this out? Congress has to act independently in this area, and we should sanction Russia and continue to keep the pressure on Vladimir Putin and Russia, a sworn enemy of this country, until the Ukrainian people are able to achieve victory for themselves, our NATO allies in Europe, and the free world.
Leader Jeffries, I want to get your thoughts on the Genius Act.
That's Hakeem Jeffries talking here. This is a new feed. I got a playback from Pete Hegseth.
Yes, my expectation to have a conversation
actually meeting with the German Chancellor. I'm not sure if we got audio on this feed. If we do,
Thank you.
What other weapons?
Thank you.
What other weapons will?
Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many pages?
That's the press getting kicked out of there. So let's go back to Hakeem Jeffries at the U.S. House as Pete Hegseth's meeting with German leaders. As we'll listen back into this press conference as we go back and forth on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Long-winded question from whoever's asking it right now.
If the Republican legislative agenda in the House continues to be to unleash chaos, cruelty, and corruption on the American people, we will continue as Democrats to strongly oppose it.
Over the last few days, a number of members of your caucus have been posting and engaging in some of the discourse about Jeffrey Epstein. Is this appropriate for your members to be doing so? Do you want to see any action on that front?
The American people deserve to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to this whole sordid Jeffrey Epstein matter. Democrats didn't put the Jeffrey Epstein thing into the public domain. This was a conspiracy that Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and these MAGA extremists have been fanning the flames of for the last several years. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. The American people deserve to know the truth. What, if anything, is the Trump administration and the Department of Justice hiding? What are you hiding? If you're not hiding anything, prove that to the American people. And if you are trying to hide something, as many of Donald Trump's MAGA supporters apparently believe, then the Congress should actually work hard to try to uncover the truth for the American people. There are only two things that are possible here. Option one, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and the MAGA extremists intentionally lied to the American people for years about the Jeffrey Epstein situation. That's option one. Option two is that, in fact, there's reason for the American people to be concerned as it relates to what information has not been released that could be damaging to the Trump administration and the friends and family of the Trump administration and their billionaire corrupt supporters. And so they're actively engaging in a cover-up. Option one, they lied for years. Option two, they're engaging in a cover-up. At this point, it seems reasonable that can only be one of the two things. And so it's Congress's responsibility in a bipartisan way to ask the questions and try to get answers on behalf of the American people.
All right, that's Hakeem Jeffries. Speaking there, they've rewound the Hegseth playback, as they call it here in the media industry, as he's meeting with German leaders. So let's listen in and see if we catch some of the audio of this important meeting.
I haven't had a conversation with those men.
To our collective security. Our brigade, you mentioned it, in Lithuania will be operational by 2027. And beside bilateral topics, we will have the opportunity today to discuss some of the key security challenges we face together, strengthening NATO and enhancing our collective defense capabilities, which is really a relevant challenge, maintaining our steadfast support for Ukraine in its courageous fight for freedom and sovereignty, and addressing regional security dynamics in key regions like the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific. So let me assure you once more, Germany will continue to play a strong role and a reliable role in the alliance. We are firmly committed to fair burden sharing and to building a more capable, more reliable, more resilient Europe within NATO. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for hosting us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Press. That's all. We're leaving. Press, we're leaving now. Thank you, Press. We're leaving now. Press, we're leaving. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Press.
Thank you. What other weapons?
Thank you.
What other weapons will?
Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many pages?
That's where we caught up to it last time with the feed being cut as they kicked everybody out of there. Okay. Let's go back and forth again because Hakeem Jeffries is still talking, and there's been some really interesting things coming out of this press conference with the Democratic leader.
By House Republican leaders that the American people have fallen in love with these extremists in the House of Representatives, and so they're acting upon a mandate. Give me a break. The only reason that House Republicans even have a majority right now is because they stole 3 seats from the people of North Carolina. North Carolina is a 50-50 state. Donald Trump narrowly won the state in 2024. There's a Democratic governor, a Democratic lieutenant governor, a Democratic attorney general, Democratic elected officials across the state of North Carolina who won on the same day. North Carolina is a 50-50 state. The North Carolina Congressional delegation, which previously had fair congressional lines, produced a 50-50 congressional delegation. 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans, as recently as January 2nd of this year. That was the makeup of the North Carolina Congressional delegation. What happened? Republicans engaged in mid-decade redistricting in a 50-50 state that had fair maps and produced an evenly divided delegation and took it from 7-7, stole 3 seats that were in Democratic hands from the people of North Carolina as a result of illegitimate mid-decade congressional gerrymandering, and turned that delegation into 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats. There's a 3-seat difference in the House of Representatives right now when Republicans are at full strength and Democrats are at full strength. 220 Republicans to 215 Democrats. That entire difference, the majority that Republicans have, can be explained solely by the fact that they cheated in North Carolina. These people have zero credibility in terms of the issues that they're allegedly championing on behalf of the American people. If you believed in your ideas and the power of your issues, then why are you trying to cheat now in Texas just like you did in North Carolina? The problem that Republicans confront is that the Texas congressional map is already gerrymandered. And so this gerrymander may actually turn into a dummy-mander because they are going to create a situation where 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Republicans who are currently in safe districts are going to be on the front line of our efforts to flip seats, particularly in a midterm election where Donald Trump is deeply unpopular and his signature one big ugly bill is deeply unpopular. Imagine a group of people, this is how corrupt they are, who in the middle of a search and rescue operation that is taking place in Texas right now, dozens of children drowned to death. And some of that has to do with incompetence in the Texas state government and incompetence in the Trump administration. And instead of actually trying to be there for the people of Texas and the Hill Country, children at summer camp who's lost their lives, they call a special session. And the main reason for that special session is to try to steal the midterm elections by rigging the Texas congressional map. These people are a complete and total embarrassment. The American people are not going to stand for it, and things aren't going to get better for them politically. They're only going to get worse. Thank you.
Hakeem Jeffries talking down there in Washington, D.C., because you know the name of the drill here. If it happens live, it's happening here on the live desk. I just want to show you some of the other feeds that are popping up. Look at this beautiful shot of Milwaukee, as that's a live picture. The heat is on the way. Talking to the weather experts, this is a live look at the radar right now. You can see Door County is the only unfortunate place that has some showers right now. Sunshine all throughout the rest of the region. Did you notice all that wildfire smoke we had yesterday? Not sure how much of that we're still dealing with. It doesn't look as hazy today. Maybe just a little bit of smoke is still lingering as we're watching the systems out there. Another shot, this is pretty cool, down from Atlanta, as we're getting ready for the All-Star game right here on Fox 6. That's going to take place tomorrow. Today is the All-Star workout day. Granted, it is an All-Star game, and these guys really don't care if they win or lose. So it's less about working out and stretching than it is about hanging out with all the best players from all the other teams, as the Brewers are sending 3 players to Atlanta to be in the All-Star game. So that is pretty cool. We'll have the game tomorrow right here on Fox 6, and we have the Home Run Derby happening tonight on another network that shall not be named. But I'm really excited for our next guest. We'll go to her in a couple seconds here, but we're all looking for things to do this summer. Why not hang out with dinosaurs? What am I talking about? We'll explain next on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Hey, we've just crossed the 2 o'clock hour on your Monday, which means if you went to work today, your first day of the work week's almost over here as we've hit 2 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first rodeo with us here and joining us, the rules are simple. It's got to be live, and then we take it. We're following all the different feeds, and from this room, I can hit all these different buttons, and we can go live just in the last few minutes. We're in Washington, D.C. We were live with Brett Lemoyne out in Waukesha a few minutes ago. The German Chancellor is talking to Pete Hegseth in Washington as well. Just some of the things that we've taken in the last 15 minutes, and we honestly don't know where this journey will take us some days because we don't know what's going to pop up in this room. But I'm really excited for our next guest here on the Wisconsin Live Desk because we call this the dog days of summer, where it gets hot and you want lemonade. And we're all reaching that point of the summer where we're trying to figure out what in the world do we do with our children? How do we keep them entertained? Well, guess what? It's not the dog days of summer. It's the dino days of summer. And joining us from the Milwaukee Public Museum, a FOX6 alum, it's Madeline Anderson. Hey, Madeline, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Feels good to be back on the FOX6 or Live Desk airwaves.
We didn't even have the live desk when you were here. This is brand new. So anytime you want a tour of your old digs, you want to come in, we could show you the setup here because it's pretty cool. But it's exciting because we get to talk to people like you. Now you got a cool new job as the spokesperson for the museum. And this press release crossed my desk, and I thought, this is something we got to talk about because there are all sorts of cool events, especially for those who love dinosaurs, about to take place or are happening at the museum. So tell me about the Dino Days of Summer. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. So we kicked off it's our annual summer series, Dino Days of Summer. It started last week. It goes through July 25th. Come to the museum. Many of this programming is included in general admission. So we're going to have our educators on the exhibit floors during the weekdays, taking a deeper dive into some different dinosaur topics, including, what is a fossil, how to name a dinosaur, how scientists name dinosaurs, what is a dinosaur and what's not a dinosaur, because sometimes that can be pretty confusing and the answers are somewhat unexpected. And then we also, on Saturdays, are going to have a story time series for the younger learners. So approximately age 3 to 8, they can do some arts and crafts, of course, read some books about dinosaurs. And then we have a really fun event coming up next Thursday, July 24th, kind of to wrap up the whole 3-week series called Family Dino Trivia. So bring the whole family. It is for people ages 6 and up. So kids, adults, anyone can partake. And if you love trivia or if you're good at dino knowledge or both, this is the event for you. And we have plenty of tickets left for that one.
Even if you're bad at dino knowledge, I feel like this could be fun because you can make a fool of yourself as some 6-year-old or 7-year-old who's really in the dinosaurs schools us all on the things that are all dinosaurs. I like to in the planetarium, one of my favorite places to go when I go down to MPM. You guys are going to have a dinosaur movie playing, right?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. So every day we're also going to have a planetarium film called Dinosaurs, SOARS, and it explores the connection between dinosaurs and modern day birds. So that is also an exciting thing we have going on. And yes, as you said, I think the kids are actually much better at dino trivia than any adult. In fact, I was corrected just last week at the museum by a 10-year-old about how I was pronouncing a dinosaur's name.
It is funny because I think I was obsessed with dinosaurs, and I don't know why that has escaped me now. Can I ask you about this picture? I cannot tell you. I talked to so many people last week. I'm like, hey, Madeline Anderson's coming on the live desk. We're going to talk dinosaurs. And all sorts of people, if you grew up in Wisconsin and you took a field trip to the Milwaukee Public Museum, it's been ingrained in people's minds that dinosaur, the T-Rex that is eating the other dinosaur, that is so spooky and terrifying for kids, but also their favorite thing in the museum. This is like the biggest attraction.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage if you grew up in Wisconsin to go there on a field trip and be scared to death by that diorama. So that's our famous Hell Creek diorama. You've got giant T-Rex and an unlucky Triceratops as its meal. And if you've been there, as you said, there's lightning, there's sound effects, there's roars. It can be kind of scary. but if a fan favorite for sure.
Scary or awesome. It's kind of like when you go to the Rainforest Cafe for the first time and the thunderstorm comes on, and that like moment sticks with you forever. But I do have to ask, because as you guys are getting ready to move, there's your beautiful new home that is rising from the ground, from the dirt, and it's going to be amazing. In the same breath that people were talking to me about their field trips when they were kids, they were like, well, will you please ask Madeline if they're going to have that over at the new museum?
So we're kind of combining 2 dinosaur exhibits into one very spectacular diorama that the visitor can enter. So we have a pterosaur skeleton, and that's the museum's only full dinosaur skeleton. We have other dinosaur fossils, but this is the full skeleton. It's the only one we have. A giant pterosaur, and so we're actually going to pose it with a fleshed out model of a pterosaur so visitors can see what the skeleton looks like and also what a fleshed out pterosaur would have looked like, some 65 million years ago. And they will be posed, yep, there's the sketch there. They will be posed on these rocks, and visitors can actually walk under this battle scene between the 2 pterosaurs. And then you can see in the background, T-Rex is lurking in the distance. And the story.
Back there.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was saying I see him lurking, ready to eat
the
some of
story
your
there
visitors.
Is he will, he's waiting for the loser of the battle, which will probably be his next lunch. And this diorama, I love it too, because our pterosaur skeleton has a giant puncture wound in the frill, that big head plate behind the horns. And so scientists from research realized it was probably caused by another pterosaur in a battle over mates or resources like food. So we're posing these how they probably would have acted back then.
And I know just with the amount of money that you guys are spending on this new museum, it's going to be state-of-the-art stuff. So it'll be so cool. Is this your pterosaur?
Yep, there it is.
I learned something new today. I had no idea that was called a pterosaur. So it will look like this in the new museum as it's about to go to battle. That will be so cool, and I imagine it'll be just as spooky.
Yeah, can you imagine walking under that? I think it's just going to be such a cool moment and a photo opportunity. So we're really excited for that one.
I can't wait for that. Hey, while I have you here, can you give us an update on the timeline?
Yes.
It's just so amazing as I drive downtown from time to time. Every time I drive by, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more of it is done. This thing is getting built so quickly.
Yeah, so we actually have our topping off ceremony tomorrow. And that basically signifies that we've reached full vertical height of the building, which is 100 feet. And then from there, we start enclosing the building. So we're going to bring these big concrete panels that will enclose the building by the end of the year. And so it will actually look done by the end of 2025, but then the full next year will encompass, interior work, obviously installing the exhibits. And then the new museum, the Nature and Culture Museum of Wisconsin, will open sometime in early 2027. And of course, the new museum, or the current museum, will remain open through the end of 2026. So still plenty of time to visit.
Are you sure that you got schooled by a 10-year-old? Because you seem pretty knowledgeable about dinosaurs now, Madeline.
Well, technically, it wasn't even a dinosaur. It's a plesiosaur. And that's one other fun fact you can learn when you go to the museum, that giant plesiosaur outside your favorite planetarium area is not a dinosaur at all.
I love that so much. Okay, if we want information on the Dino Days of Summer, because again, this is like so many events in the upcoming days and weeks here, where do we go? Where can we find all the information?
Yep, just go to mpm.edu.
Let's do a trade here, Madeline. You come back and see Fox 6 so I can show you all the cool new updates, and you get me into the museum for a preview before anyone else can, so I get a VIP experience. How about that? Does that sound like a trade?
You got it.
Madeline Anderson, former reporter extraordinaire here at Fox 6, now doing amazing things with the Milwaukee Public Museum. Thanks, Madeline. Appreciate you coming on here. Madeline doing a great job down there. I'm so excited for the Dino Days of Summer, and I am honestly super impressed of all of her knowledge of dinosaurs. Because I don't ever remember her talking about dinosaurs when she was in the newsroom, and look at her now, although she is getting schooled by 10-year-old kids about some stuff. But that is some pretty cool stuff from Madeline's. Okay, I'm just checking the live feeds. We do have some new stuff just coming in. And I'm told that Bill Miston will be joining us in less than 5 minutes here. He's got an interesting story. So plenty to go, plenty of things to talk about here on your Monday on the Wisconsin.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. So we've learned a lot about street engineering on this show. We've learned about ice cream and artificial flavoring. And we just learned a heck of a lot about dinosaurs. Not where I thought my Monday would go, but this is what the Wisconsin Live Desk is. We have no idea where this adventure will take us. And I do have some new live pictures that have just come into the Live Desk. So let me just show you what we're watching here. As I'm seeing, it looks like we got a press conference about to start in Texas. And here on this live channel, I'm not actually sure what we're looking at here. As a live picture coming in looking from the nation's capital, as that is the September 11th memorial that they're standing at, but not sure. I think this is the German chancellor who just met with Pete Hegseth, taking a moment to honor our nation there. As you can see, the media is gathered. And he's now sharing, looks like a pin there, with the soldier who was standing guard out there near the Defense Department. So Pete Hegseth meeting with German leaders, and that's your live picture on the screen. Let's bring it back here local, because we were talking dinosaurs. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. One of my other favorite things to talk about is what Bill Miston's covering today. So let's bring Bill in. Bill, thanks for joining us here again on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We love when you're on here, but I'm especially excited for this conversation.
Oh, stop it, Ben. You're too kind. No, we're talking about Milwaukee's city flag. Right?
Have we ever really stopped talking about the city flag? All right, so the city flag, for those, if we need an update here. Hold on, let's start with images, Bill, because we need to start and remind everyone. So this is the current official flag of Milwaukee. There was many decades ago, they decided they wanted to have a city flag. None of the aldermen could agree on what should be on the flag, so they literally put everything on the flag. There was a push to make a new city flag. They turned it into this, and then we bring in Bill Miston to get us up to date They didn't, apparently people didn't like that flag. So where are we today? What is going on today, Bill?
Well, Ben, I know that you are big into sketching and coloring, considering that's what I'm sure Amelia likes to do. So get your sketches together, as the task force is now in place. They held their first meeting today. Not a whole lot was done by way of we're a step closer, like there's designs here in place for them to select. No, this was kind of an organizational meeting today of the task force to get through this process, to figure out how they're going to open up this submission process and make sure that all Milwaukeeans have accessibility to provide their submissions and have their voices heard, as this task force looks to eventually select a new replacement, potentially, for the City of Milwaukee flag that will then be handed to the Common Council for approval. And the hope is to have this all done before or in time for the city's 180th anniversary since its founding, its incorporation, this January. So that's kind of where things stand right now.
So the Vexillological Association, a group that studies their flag nerds, declared the current City of Milwaukee flag that I have up on the screen right now as the worst flag, I'm not sure in existence or in the United States, but they think it's the worst, Bill.
Yeah, definitely maybe some caveats there, or qualifications to what is the worst flag. I'm biased. I think the Chicago flag is the greatest flag. So no bones about that. Not sure if it's going to be as simple as something like that here for what people have designed. This whole process, you know, there have been talks about it and people have been wanting to change their flag for a number of years. I don't know if you could pull up that current city flag and kind of point out two things that people have had issues with. One of them being a Native American headdress that is on that flag, as well as the now demolished county stadium. That's long gone. I mean, that flag was adopted back in the 1950s, so it's viewed as being outdated. The Vexillological Society says it's one of the worst, presumably, depending upon where you are. So this whole process in 2016, there was a process that began then that brought us sunrise over the lake, also known as the People's Flag. You see it a lot of places in town. You also see it outside of town. You see it outside in the suburbs and farther flung from the city of Milwaukee. A lot of people have come to associate that flag with Milwaukee or southeastern Wisconsin, and that's some of the concerns that aldermen brought up this past fall when a vote came forward to try and adopt that flag, the People's Flag, the sunrise over the lake, as the new city flag, and also concerns that it wasn't completely inclusive of everyone's voice in the city. So that's what this task force that was set up by the mayor and the Common Council is set to get to the bottom of. There's members, community members that are a part of this, long-standing community members. John Gerda, the historian, well-known Milwaukee historian, is also part of this committee. Tourism and marketing officials, as well as business leaders and community development advocates are all part of this 8-person task force that held their first meeting today, kind of getting the lay of the land, and then are going to be moving forward. One of the things that the task force is hoping to do is by the middle of next month, mid-August, to begin opening up the submission process for people. So Ben or Amelia, you know, feel free to start submitting those sketches of what you think possibly a new flag design might look like. Ben, maybe there might be some big boats on there.
That would be awesome. Can I just, for the record, say there is a giant big boat on the current flag as I'm pulling that back up. Interesting they picked John Gerda to be on this too, because he was actually on the panel that was in the process that selected the People's Flag. So he's back on another flag selecting panel, even though apparently they didn't like the process with the first one, but they brought him back. I want to point out a couple other funny things on the current official flag of Milwaukee. It's one of the few flags that has multiple flags on the flag. There's a flag underneath the Native American that you were talking about. There's a flag on the big boat ship. There's multiple flags on counties. There's like 10 flags on the flag. There's also a mystery genie in a lamp. Any idea what that is, Bill? Because I've done multiple stories on the flag, and I still have no idea what that is.
You would probably be better placed to speak to what that is than I am.
And I can tell you, I still have no idea.
I wish I had an answer for you. This is definitely more up your wheelhouse, or pilot house, maybe one might say, for someone who's as big into flags and who's as big into flags or big boats as you are, Ben.
I also like on the bottom, they show ripples for water, but some people have said since it's dark, it looks like polluted water, like the inner harbor is polluted. And there's also smokestacks, so I'm not sure if people want smokestacks on the flag. But Bill, before I let you go, do you have any design ideas as someone who no longer resides in the city of Milwaukee, so I don't think you're eligible, but I mean, maybe they'll take
I am eligible. I live in the city.
Oh.
I live in the city.
Are you in the city? Okay. I didn't okay, well, the question is really, I care more about, do you have any ideas for the new flag?
You know, I think I should maybe, I don't really have a good answer for that, Ben. Maybe I should stay out of that, but I think I know a couple people who might be able to maybe put together a few good things to submit, so we'll maybe try that out.
If I had it my way, it'd just be a giant boat and no one would have they would not understand what it even means, so. Well, this is a saga that many did not think would play out as long as it has. Good to know, Bill, it's going to play out even longer, as you said, not even going to be mid-August before we really get things going here. So get your ideas pumping.
Yeah, but again, they hope to have something selected to present to the Common Council, before the 180th anniversary. So it seems that they're starting through this process. Like, these things take time to get going and kind of figuring out how it's all going to work together. And so again, they're hoping to begin the submission process sometime in the middle or towards late next month, and then that period will run through September.
God willing, we need this to end. Bill Miston on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for joining us, Bill. Appreciate it. I think Bill does have some good flag ideas, and he's just not telling us, and I'm going to pick his brain about that later. All right. That was as fun as I thought it would be, talking to Bill here on the Wisconsin Live Desk about flags. But hey, our time is running short, so I got to take a quick break here. And yeah, there's some new live feeds that are just popping up here. Stay with us. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk exclusively on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman on the Wisconsin Live Desk. The Texas governor has just walked into a room meeting first responders down there that have been working after these terrible floods. You can see Greg out there in the wheelchair, and all of these first responders, they are all lined up meeting the governor of Texas as the search still continues. More than 150 people still missing there after these deadly floods, especially in Kerr County. That is kind of in between San Antonio and Austin, Texas. And they've just let the media into the room, and when the media was in the room, I saw all of these. You could see police officers, law enforcement all lined up, and I was like, what's going on? And there's the governor now meeting with all of these people as they've got smiles on their face, but they have not had smiles on their face for most of the days following these terrible, terrible floods as the work continues to, again, try and bring closure to dozens and dozens of families as the work continues down there in Texas. So I'm just going to see if I've got audio here on this mic on this channel, which I'm not sure if I do. Yes, I do. Let's take it.
You got it. Yes, sir. How you guys? We're well. How are you doing? There you go. Appreciate what you do. Governor, thank you. You got it. Hey, how's it going? How you doing? Good. It's an honor, sir. It's my honor. Yeah. Thank you. Hey. You too. Hey guys. How's it going? You too.
Well, the governor's shaking hands with law enforcement that, again, are helping with the flooding. We're expecting an update in a few minutes here from the governor on the search efforts down there in Kerr County, Texas.
This way, please.
So now we're along with the media as they've been moved out of the room, and this is where this press conference is going to occur. I think the local school governor looks like. Down there in Texas as the governor is getting ready. Another thing we're watching is the All-Star game is will be right here on Fox. Game is tomorrow. So get your schedules for that. They got the Home Run Derby tonight. All the players are showing up today. So this should be a really, really fun event down there in Atlanta. So we've been watching that feed as well. So another crazy day here on the Live Desk, because you just never know what'll happen, who will pop up, which shots will pop up. Appreciate Brett Lemoyne, Bill Miston joining us from the FOX6 News team, and Madeline Anderson being here on the Wisconsin Live Desk from the Milwaukee Public Museum. They're about to change the name of the museum when they do move across the street in a couple of weeks. So, all right, stay with us. Live Now is next. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow.
Available to people who eat well. That's not, Medicaid is available to people who qualify for Medicaid. And it will